Hello, and welcome to ELA Plus, your free guide to English studies and the English language arts. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. In this video lesson, we continue our exploration of the English language metrical feet by taking a look at the spondee. The spondee, as you'll see, can be a bit tricky. There's even a debate as to whether or not it's a true metrical foot at all. Let's delve into that debate right now. The first thing we'll do in this video lesson is take a look at some definitions of the term spondee. After that, ELA Plus will provide our own definition. Then we'll discuss whether or not the spondee is even a real thing, and, if it is, where it might appear in English language poetry and what it tends to sound like when read aloud. We will then conclude with some comprehension questions. Mark Strand and Evan Boland, in their book The Making of a Poem, a Norton Anthology of Poetry, define the spondee as a metrical foot with two long stresses. Next up, we have Mary Oliver in A Poet's Handbook telling us that the spondee is a foot of two equal stresses. And the Poetry Foundation defines the term spondee as, quote, a metrical foot consisting of two accented syllables. From these definitions, we learn that a spondee is a metrical foot of two syllables, and a spondee's two syllables are both accented. ELA Plus therefore defines the spondee as a two-syllable foot consisting of two stressed syllables. The word bookmark, for example, can be read as a spondee. You can probably tell from this definition that this video lesson is going to be short. After all, you cannot write an English poem in all spondees. The language simply does not allow it. English is a language that demands a combination of stressed and unstressed syllables. In fact, James de Mille, in his The Elements of Rhetoric, goes so far as to say that, quote, there is no such thing as a spondaic line in accentuated verse, end quote. While the spondee does have its advocates, a great deal of English metrists regard the spondee as a mere variation of other metrical feet, namely the I am and the trochee. I'm including it in our glossary of English language arts terms, however, because you're probably going to come across this term somewhere in your English language arts studies, hopefully. And so I want you to know what it is, but with a twist. What ELA Plus wants you to do is think of the spondee less as a poetic foot and more as a rhythmical variation in poetry. So rather than a spondee, think of a spondaic I am, or a spondaic trochee. To get a better idea of what I'm talking about, here's what Timothy Steele says about the spondee. True spondees perhaps appear in English in only two cases. The first is when the rhythm of a poem or passage is so close to the metrical norm that a foot with two relatively weighty syllables really does stand out as unusual. The second is when the syllables are spoken with the same degree of emphasis. Many authorities introduce them almost willy-nilly into accounts of poems in conventional iambic measure. If we start marking every heavy or light foot as a spondee or a pyrrhic, our scansions may bewilder readers, especially those who are young and unfamiliar with verse. They may wonder why iambic pentameters and tetrameters are so named, since so few of them will appear to conform to the pattern they ostensibly embody. So we see that the spondee is both a metrical foot and also not really a metrical foot. Opinions differ. But whether we regard the spondee as a metrical foot or as a mere rhythmical variation within iambic or trochaic meter, the fact remains that the spondee does carry with it certain phonaesthetic qualities. Namely, the spondee evokes either a slowing down of pace or an emphasis on a poetic foot. For a clever example of the spondee in a poem, let's look at Samuel Coleridge's poem, Metrical Feet. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just note that what Coleridge is doing in this poem is writing in the various metrical feet while simultaneously teaching each foot's phonaesthetic qualities. It's a great poem and well worth doing scansion on in order to build a better understanding of poetic feet. Look at what he does with the spondee in lines 2 and 3. From long to long, in solemn sort, slow spondee stalk, strong foot. Here he illustrates how spondees will either slow a line down but also provide emphasis. I love this poem. Seriously, read it again, do the scansion on it. I think you'll benefit from doing so. And that about wraps up our video lesson on the spondee. The first thing we did is define the spondee. Then we looked into whether or not the spondee should be considered a unique metrical foot or a mere rhythmical variation. We came down on the side that the spondee is more of a rhythmical variation than a unique metrical foot, but that it also carries with it certain phonaesthetic qualities important for poets to understand. And now it's time for some comprehension questions. Number 1. What is a spondee? Number 2. What are the phonaesthetic qualities of the spondee? Number 3. What is the argument for the spondee as a unique metrical foot? Number 4. What is the argument for the spondee as mere rhythmical variation? And number 5. Scan Coleridge's poem Metrical Feet. What do you learn about the spondee from this scansion? And that concludes our video lesson on the spondee. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Be sure to enable notifications because we offer regularly updated content. ELA Plus is a free guide to English studies and the English language arts. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. Until our next lesson, keep reading, get obsessed, and take care of yourselves and others. Thank you.